All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Opposed.
4-3. Motion passes.
Motion to include a new updated Exhibit E FY23 budget request from departments, position changes as approved by the acting county executive.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. Discussion.
This is request by the departments for new positions or changes in positions. So it's something that has not been taken into account with the position control document. These are new requests that the departments have or changes to the titles and stuff in the department.
It was they were helping us as far as being more specific and aligning everything as is more appropriate.
It's more of, for example, I will use the state's attorney's office. They've never had the position of an evidence tech. We couldn't include the evidence tech in the original position control because it's not something that we have. This exhibit adds the ability to hire evidence techs for the state's attorney's office. Or we have not had the position of fire inspector 2 because we haven't had somebody who's had the ability to be promoted to that. So this is adding that position. So again, the original pay plan looked at the positions we currently have. These are changes to those positions based on needs within the departments after the pay plan takes effect, if that makes sense. So these are very specific targeted requests that have been presented by the departments in the budget.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Any other motions or discussion? All those in favor of legislative bill number 2022-06 as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Legislative bill number 2022-06 as amended passes unanimously. Mrs. Hurley, thank you very much, by the way, on keeping
You're
this so organized for us. It was a lot to handle. We appreciate that.
Pam, thank you.
You're welcome.
Pam.
So next on the agenda is Resolution Number 65-2022. This is to levy and impose a property tax for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2022, and ending June 30th, 2023, to provide for the payment of a service charge for a property owner under a semi-annual payment schedule, setting the tax rates for real and personal property, and providing for the collection of the property tax.
Entertain a motion from council to approve resolution number 65-2022.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor of resolution 65-2022 say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution passes.
Thank you.
Next for your consideration is Resolution Number 66-2022. This is to amend the fiscal year 2023-2027 capital improvement plan and fiscal year 23 capital budget to reduce the general obligation bond in the amount of $1,021,958 for the Board of Education, Mardella High/Middle renovation addition project, and to increase PAYGO funding for that project in the same amount.
Entertain a motion from council to approve resolution 66-2022.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion.
I think just might want to make it just clear that we're still paying that amount of money. We're just from a different source.
Yes, the total amount that we would appropriate would stay the same.
Right.
This is where the discussion came up for those 4 words, sorry. So the question becomes is council still interested in having $1 million, the $1 million reduction be spent all to reduce the debt service, or do they want to propose a different amount for that, so that some is reduced? We would still, again, have the total dollar amount that we would be paying towards Mardella would stay the same, and having some remain in the general fund operating budget to allow for flexibility for additional purchases as discussed prior.
I would ask Dr. Hanna if you'd like to join us, if you might, and whoever you may want from your staff to be with you, or if you're going to go it alone. Sheriff Lewis, we're glad you stayed around, Sheriff Lewis. Some of this may revolve around security, so we appreciate you being here.
Absolutely.
In case we need it, thanks.
So what
Yes.
would you like for me to respond to?
Joe, I think this is
The
reference to-
idea of the money being used differently?
I'm the one that caused all the confusion tonight.
Right.
Okay.
So-
Needless to say, after what happened in Texas, a lot of phone calls. We have 2 elementary schools on the east side. We have a middle school on the east side. And I'm sure some of the other council members have heard from family members and, citizens alike. And I'm not here to quiz you about how safe our schools are, because I know you're doing all you can. But a couple of weeks ago, when we had our meeting, and we had this, I guess it was a misunderstanding in the MOE amount, the number of students. So we had this $1 million that was surplus that we decided to pay down the bonding with. So my first thoughts were, could some of that be used? Is it needed? Are you up to par? Do you think you have enough now? Could we use some of that money? Not all, we don't have to use all of it, whatever you think. We have the county executive here to put his thoughts on that too. So
I
that's where we're at.
appreciate that, because originally, sorry,
Well, I was just going to comment. I mean, I know we had said that, we were making sure that went toward Mardell and paying down that debt. I mean, if we need some money, I mean, we have lots of, I say we have lots, but we have lots of avenues we can pursue other than this for it having to come from here.
This is just one avenue, Bill.
That's
You
what I'm
know,
saying.
I mean, it was on the
We have
table.
lots-
you know.
Like I said, we have lots of avenues. We
Yeah.
have one avenue to reduce the debt. This is the only avenue to reduce that. If we need money for some of the other things, for security purposes, we have lots of other avenues to pursue that, is my point.
so when there was the disagreement between the Department of Legislative Services and MSDE in terms of how to calculate maintenance of effort, first of all, that had nothing to do with enrollment and any reduced enrollment. In fact, we have increased enrollment this year. That had to do with the way those two entities interpreted how to calculate maintenance of effort. One felt like there was, what we call the kicker, which is when, I don't know, what's the real language? We call it the kicker.
Escalator.
The escalator, because our county is below the average of what local jurisdictions give to education, there is this escalator. The formula read and was interpreted by, and I know I'm going down but I just want to make sure you understand that. The formula, the way that it was written in the law, was interpreted by MSDE as if it was a double escalator. So there was a disagreement between those two entities, and the Department of Legislative Services entered legislation, and that's how it ended up that it was one escalator. So it was $1 million or $1.1 million less than what we originally thought was maintenance of effort. And so when we discovered that, when we knew that, when we finally had the official ruling on that, we met with the county executive in transparency to let him know this is what maintenance of effort is, and what we would hope would happen with that funding would be that you would allow it to be used for hardening our schools.
So that was your thoughts in the first place?
That was our thoughts in the first place.
Okay.
So without going into detail on what we've been exploring, we were researching last spring, actually for months, some very sophisticated technology that could be used in our schools that would have a big impact on the safety of our schools. And I'm trying to remember what the original cost of that was. It was over $1 million.
Than that.
It was over $1 million.
Well, there's nobody that would rather pay down debt than myself. I mean, no debt would be great, I mean.
Sure.
But lower debt, and we've seen that, and we discussed that at our last meeting, and council, I think pretty much 100% of us believe that that's what we would do. That was before Texas. And I think, a lot of citizen concerns out here. And I know Bill says there's a lot of avenues to go down, but I know also in the past, council members have said right now, interest rates are so low that it doesn't always make sense to pay down debt, but could this money be used better to do what you mentioned? So,
You have had this on your capital improvement plan, correct?
Rich,
The security measures and the,
not this particular technology.
okay. But there were other things, like, I'm trying to think, it was
Security
hardware.
cameras and
Yes,
things like that, yes, yes.
So when we came to council that last work session, we presented the three options. The option one was leave it in the MOE, which was kind of taken off the table. Option two is what this legislation came from, which was to reduce the amount that we go to the market for and still spend the same total dollar amount, but use kind of cash on hand to help with the Mardella School. Or option three was this option of spending the money. Now, to make sure it does not go in MOE, any dollar amount that we put towards this would have to be spent by the county, not by the Board of Education, and the county then would have to give whatever we buy to, as a donation to the Board of Education. Because if we just give them the cash, it becomes part of MOE. It will have to follow the county procurement rules, it will have to follow county guidelines, and we would have to come to council, if those guidelines require it, to spend that, to move it out of contingency, we would have to come to council to spend it.
Which is the same discussion that we had in the work session.
but wait a minute, we're spending money to improve safety of the schools. Could not a request be made to the state for a waiver on that?
We can request, but we have missed the deadline for the one time. And so the one way to get around the one time would be us spending the money, us being the county, not the Board of Ed. So again, we would have the ability to do it, but we would have to be the agent to do it without having to get any kind of waiver from the state, not knowing if they would offer it.
Mr. Wilbur, do you have an opinion on this? Have you had a chance to have an opinion on this?
Paul Wilbur, County Attorney. Laura and I had a discussion about 5 o'clock today about this. I think if you want to make it a non-recurring expense, that we need to get that state waiver. So my recommendation would be that we put it in contingency, get the state waiver, and then do a budget amendment and allocate it to whatever
And we can do a little
hardening
more
you want to
research
do.
on the timing of the waiver. I know typically it's in March that you're asking for those waivers, but
That waiver, she said we just missed the deadline on.
Maybe it might be
March.
an exception because they over budgeted, so maybe they can make exception with the waiver because it's their mistake.
And again, we can go down that path. It's just, the original.
Aren't you saying there's a way though to get around, so we don't have to go through?
So Paul and I have not
All
had.
disagreeing with you.
Well, Paul and I have not had the opportunity to discuss this ourselves. So this is the first time Paul and I are talking about this. But I believe if we buy, not send the money over to the Board of Ed, it is not counted towards their number. Because again, we aren't giving the money to the Board of Education, we're giving the money to a vendor.
The Board of Education tends to agree with that philosophy.
We do. We've talked with Pam and Mr. Pasota about it. Feel like since the deadline was missed, and I think Mr. Davis does have a good point, but outside of that, since that deadline was missed, there is a way that the invoicing could be done on the county side, and then that the item that's purchased just be given to the Board of Ed.
It's nothing unscrupulous, it's just a different way of doing it.
Yeah, we're not insinuating that we're doing something unscrupulous, absolutely not. And secondly, it wasn't missed, it expired, so we were just.
Right, understood. So that being said, we do know that the basic resolution itself is to amend it for the 1 million plus for the Board of Education Mardella High School renovation additional project and to increase the pay-go. We would need, Mr. Holloway, if you want to move forward with your recommendation, we would need a motion to sort of phrase exactly how you'd like to, what you would like to do with that additional funding.
I would like to make the motion that we take the $1,021,958 and put it in contingency.
It's already there through the budget process.
Okay.
So,
Help us out.
so if you want the full million to go towards security measures, basically this resolution needs to either be pulled, voted against.
I said, we just don't do the resolution.
You don't do the resolution.
Okay.
Yes, you could just take it off and not do the resolution. If you want to have half and half, then this resolution, all you'd have to do is amend the dollar amount. So,
Well, let's get a consensus. What, from the council, do you want to do all of it? You want to do half of it? Where are we at?
I think you do all of it, we just don't do the resolution.
Okay.
We do
All of it for the safety.
Okay, that's fine.
Agreed.
so then I don't, this is where I
Well,
have to turn to
Here's what we
Laura.
would do, I think. What I would do, I would take a motion on the resolution. We have a motion for it to be, take a vote on the resolution, and all I have to do is vote no. Correct?
Yeah, you can do that.
I don't want to table it because then it moves it on down.
But just for your future knowledge, when you are ready to come back to council for permission to take that money out of contingency to be used for that other source, you would still need to have the public hearing again, another resolution.
Correct.
Council would still have to approve
Okay.
that.
That's fine.
Or is it easier just, I forget who made the motion. Well, or just,
I'll rescind my
yeah,
motion.
just rescind the motion.
I'll rescind the motion, and we should table this.
No, don't table it, we vote no.
Well, I don't want to rescind the motion. I want to just finish with the vote. We've had a lot of discussion on it. Let's just finish with the vote. All those in favor of Resolution 66, 2022, say aye. Opposed? Opposed. Motion fails. Resolution 66, 2022 does not pass.
Just make it clear that we didn't vote against giving this money for security.
Correct.
In case
Yes,
somebody in
it is.
TV, in case somebody in TV land's not paying real close
Yes,
attention.
it is.
No doubt.
In the original budget amendments that that council just passed, there was an amendment to move the $1 million into contingency, so now we can work collaboratively with the Board of Education and our attorney to figure out the best way to spend these funds, and we would be coming back to council to appropriate them as necessary.
Thank you.
We usually have one meeting a year like this, and this is our budget meeting.
Joe,
Back and
I'd like to
forth.
thank you for that recommendation. I would really like to thank everybody here today for the work that you did so quickly to try to make this happen, Sheriff Lewis included. So thank you again very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Everybody have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you all.
At this time, we open the floor for public comments. If you have any comments that you'd like to make, please come to the podium, state your name, your concern, and your county of residence.
My name is James Wynn, and I would like to remind the council that we do have an abundance of volunteer firemen that are living in this county right now that aren't really getting the respect and the finances that they desperately need. And I was just talking to John as soon as he walked out the door, and he was very disappointed on the motion that was passed. Not that it was bad, it was just that we can offer our firemen a tax credit. And, if we don't do it, it's just a matter of time before we don't have a fire department. And that to me is concerning. We have a huge county, 15 fire departments in the county. And, I was just at one last night, and recruitment is down. Nobody wants to get involved in supporting our fire departments. And, this is definitely concerning because we will have to pay for a fire department if we don't take care of the volunteers that we have right now. Thank you.
I can say something.
That's okay. It's all right. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Audrey. My name's Audrey Orr. I live in Salisbury. I'm currently serving as the chair of the Board of Trustees for Wicomico Public Libraries. Two quick comments. First, on behalf of the trusts of the board, thank you very much for confirming the appointments of 2 new trustees. That will give us a full complement on our board. Secondly, as a private citizen of Wicomico County, it was a good reminder to me today to listen to the budgeting process. Reminds me of how complex and challenging the whole exercise is. It was also very clear the amount of thought and consideration you all put into the exercise. So thank you for funding the library to the best extent that you all can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Orr.
Good evening. My name is Monica Brooks. I am a resident of Wicomico County. I just wanted to say something and follow up to the libraries. I don't think we are doing enough to fund our libraries. Our libraries are becoming a thing of extinction. They've had to evolve into a place where they do trainings and meeting places and all of that stuff. But even as I was recalling the extreme temperatures that happened the other day, and I called the city and the county and I said, are there any cooling stations around? Because I'm thinking about people who are in need and different things. And they said, no, nothing yet. And they said, but just tell them to go to the library. And I thought to myself, the library is not just a place where we go to learn, but it's also a meeting place that builds community. It's still a place where we can learn and grow. And I think that we do have things that we could do because the funding for the library has gone down ridiculously. And I think that's something that should be reconsidered. I also wanted to just say, regarding the Police Accountability Board, I know the application is now out. I didn't know the application was now out. I don't know who put it out and who's responsible for that information being disseminated. But just so everyone knows, it's out there. That application is available for residents to apply for that board. And I also want to thank the county, the council for changing that piece. I think, Josh, you recommended regarding the, oh Lord, what was it? The people that can serve on the board, about people who serve time, making that change because you want to be inclusive of the people that can offer something to the county. But thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. Any other public comments?
My name is Sandy Spedden, and I had planned on just coming to the meeting and listening tonight. But I did have one question, and I don't know whether I understood it correctly. When they were talking about these shields for the school, I think that's a good thing. And he said that would be for all schools in Wicomico, Worcester, and Somerset. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Does that include the private schools?
First we've heard of it was tonight. We'll certainly get that information back to you, okay?
Okay. I was wondering because a lot of the smaller private schools don't have the funds probably, I'm guessing, to get those things. And they could use them too because over the years where we've had these attacks, many of them been on churches and also Christian schools. So I just thought I might mention that to y'all. Thank you.
Very much. We'll share that comment. Thank you. Any other public comments? Council comments.
I'll just say it was great to see Jay Copeland. He did. I walked from my house down to the city, down across from the hospital, and it was awesome to be able to see the community turn out for his concert on Friday night. It was really fantastic. If that doesn't just scream community, I don't know what else does. But a few other places in the state have such a feeling of of respect for ourselves and for what we can be. I think Jay Copeland kind of is a mirror image of what Wicomico is, a place that could be up and coming, could be great, and where we all support each other. So it was a really great event. I just want to say thanks to all who were involved to help make that happen.
Oh, go ahead. Just a real quick comment, because actually I'm looking at three Rotarians sitting there together, and right before the meeting at 4 o'clock this afternoon, at the leadership of Dr. Whitehead, we dedicated the Rotary Labyrinth, which is down by Riverwalk, and it's basically a symbol of peace. Part of Rotary is the message of peace, and in today's world, that's things like that is what we need in our community. And Seth and Alder, they're Rotarians as well, and they were present. So I just wanted to acknowledge that that's now part of our community, and everyone can it's a place to go and relax, and downtown Salisbury. So
I just want to thank everyone who came out to voice their concerns and share their thoughts on the fallen hero tax credit. I think this is a nice way to give those who have been disabled in the line of duty a thank you. So thank you for coming.
Larry?
Yeah, I don't think we can thank Hardwire enough. I think that what they're offering us is a great start for school safety, but we do have a long way to go, because we have a lot of open spaces out there, especially during sports. But this is a great start, so they can't be thanked enough. I'd like to congratulate the Salisbury University baseball team. They made it to the College World Series, but they were eliminated today. But they're a second runner-up, so they should be proud. This is the second year. Last year they were the national champs. So we have a good school over there. And this past week, we had all of our high schools graduate, so that was a good thing. Makes me feel like we're all getting old. But I want to thank and congratulate, thank the schools and congratulate the students, and I wish them the best of luck in their next chapter in life.
For presidential comments, Ms. Brooks, you stepped all over my presidential comments. I was going to share with the public, and still will share with the public, that the acting county executive is seeking volunteers to serve on the Police Accountability Board, the Administrative Charging Committee, and the Trial Board. And if anyone is interested in serving on these boards, you can go to the county's website to download the application, and then you can complete the application and return it. So we're looking for people who are committed to that. On the other part of that, I'm glad to see that we did get the what we call the Fallen Heroes Bill passed tonight. It's something that's been in the works for a long time. I know the request was to extend the time, but I think we were criticized about 2 months ago because we weren't moving quickly enough. So we've accomplished that tonight. I think it's a good step. And keep in mind one thing, is that this is only one step. We're not ignoring the fire departments. We're not ignoring the volunteers. We fully recognize that without the volunteers, Wicomico County cannot survive. And compensation is necessary for recruitment and retention. What we would hope to be, as far as the second part of this plan, is to, and it's much broader, and it would have to involve the executive's office as well as the county council, because what we would like to see, and I speak for myself, what I think we would like to see is a broader legislative bill that gives some type of property tax relief for all the volunteers. But that we know, and the fire departments have shared with us that that's a large number. It's an astronomically large number, and they understand that, and they recognize that. And I think they know that they have the confidence in this government that we recognize that as well. And it's something that will have to be driven by the county executive's office through the budget process. And that being said, I think the council has discussed it before, and we're anxious to see how this will develop in the future and trying to find some resolution to that, I would say hopefully within the next year. So just want to make sure everybody was aware of what this council has done, and as a government body, what we are attempting to do and how much we do appreciate all of our volunteers in Wicomico County. That being said, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn from legislative session, go into open work session, followed by a closed work session pursuant to the local government article section 3-305B1 to discuss a personnel matter pertaining to the local management board director to protect the confidentiality of the individual. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned. We will go into an open work session following a 5-minute recess.